Welcome to another edition of the Red Zone podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Point-Jure, and today we continue with CFL Tiers heading in to week 9, and you can see some consistency from week to week. The tiers are starting to become more concrete. No teams really jumping like crazy or falling like crazy. It's more consistent from week to week. And as we approach Labor Day, it's only going to be more and more and more consistent with these tiers and who's in them. So let's get started. We start always at the bottom of the tiers, and we have the Edmonton Elks and the Ottawa Red Blacks sticking right where they are. And my tier name for them was Not Much More Room for Error. These two teams can't afford moral victories anymore. They need to get real victories. For Edmonton, they went into Saskatchewan, Cody Fajardo getting the start, benched Trey Ford, and the results were better. I mean, they did lose, but they were down, I think, 21-4 at one point, and it was not looking good at all. I thought Saskatchewan was probably going to pull away, but credit Edmonton. They, made a comeback there, nearly won the game with Cody Fajardo, scored 2 late touchdowns, but couldn't finish the job. And then Ottawa, coming off, I think, a bye week, if I'm not mistaken, they face Calgary on Thursday, and you gotta feel like that's probably it's must wins for the next couple weeks here until you can get back into the playoff picture, because remember, there's still a chance for a crossover from west to east, so that's something to look out for. So for both of these teams, they just need wins as soon as possible, but it's not going to be easy, though. We'll see what they can do in the next few weeks. Moving on to the next tier, we have Collision Course, and we have the BC Lions and the Toronto Argonauts. With how the season is going so far, it looks like these two teams will be fighting for that last playoff spot in the East Division. There's still a lot of time. You never know what can happen the rest of the way, but this is what it's looking like for these two teams, that they're going to be fighting for that East last playoff spot. You never know with Winnipeg, right? They will not have Zach Collaros playing this weekend, so that could change some stuff if BC can get some wins and get right back into the West playoff race. Before we move on, big shout out to Robert Carter Jr. for that amazing one-handed interception. That was probably the play of the year. I don't know if we're going to see a better play than that. One of the greatest catches I've ever seen. That was just phenomenal. So shout out to him. I just had to talk about that because that was absolutely ridiculous. So I just wanted to mention that, but wow, what a catch. What a catch. Let's move on to our next tier, and we have the Winnipeg Blue Bombers falling down in the tiers, and my name for them was Same Story. It's kind of the same story as a Calgary game. Zach Collaros started the game, wasn't playing that great, and then left the game around halftime or so. In the Calgary game, it was right before halftime after the hit, and then in this game against Toronto in the loss, he went out, I think, at halftime, so did not come back for the second half. So it's the same story for them. And then when Chris Streveler takes over, it really didn't matter, as the other team, in this case Toronto, pulled away and won the game, dropping the Winnipeg Blue Bombers to, I think, 3-3 on the season, a 3-game losing streak. We'll see if they can rebound against Toronto again, but this time at Princess Auto Stadium in Winnipeg. That should help, but we'll see what happens with Winnipeg. The next tier, we have Maltos Mania and the Montreal Alouettes. Yes, Jose Maltos kicked 3 field goals in the fourth quarter as the Alouettes rallied back to win the game. Maltos kicked a 58-yard field goal on his third field goal of the quarter to win the game 23-21. He was great in this one. It was going to be good from further out. I mean, that last kick could have been good from what, 65 maybe. I mean, it was just straight down the middle and had enough leg to get through the upright. So a very impressive kick for Maltos as the Montreal Alouettes keep pace with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the East Division, as Hamilton picked up a win this past weekend. They're on fire. As we get to those TiCats in the next tier, and I put beyond the law. Yeah, the Tiger Cats went into BC Place, a very high scoring game, a very entertaining game, which saw Hamilton win on the last drive of the game. They went down the field and scored a touchdown. I was really disappointed in BC's defense. They were playing far off. I mean, I would say a good 15 yards. I may show you a picture of how off they were playing. It was confusing to me. I mean, they just needed a field goal to tie. But they went all the way down the field and scored a touchdown. I wouldn't say easy, but it was not hard for the Hamilton Tiger Cats to drive down that field. So just a questionable defensive game plan on that last drive from the BC Lions. But they did win the game, and I said beyond the law because Kenny Lawler, he had 2 receptions for 29 yards. It wasn't just all Kenny. And Keandre Smith had the big day. 14 receptions for 138 yards and had 2 touchdowns. I think he also had the game-winning touchdown on that last drive. So that was really good for him. And Bo Levi Mitchell continues to be on fire. 34, 41, 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. The running game a bit better. Greg Bell, 11 carries for 56 yards. But the Hamilton Tiger Cats continue to just keep racking up these wins. And doesn't seem like they're going to be slowing down anytime soon because that offense. And they proved it. They did it without Kenny Lawler getting the majority of the targets or the receptions. So they just continue to play really, really well and lead the East Division. And then at the top of the tiers, we have 2 teams with the Calgary Stampeders and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And I put fighting a letdown. Yes, both of these teams, I think this past weekend, it was like, just get through this game because it could have been a possible letdown spot. Both teams were playing at home, which is typically not where letdown spot happens. Typically, it's on the road. But Saskatchewan, they fought it off. I mean, Edmonton nearly made the comeback, but they held on to get the victory. Calgary, on the other hand, lost a game I think a lot of people probably say they probably should have won in the fourth quarter. They're only up by 7, which is no gimme. It's no easy win from there, especially in the CFL. Up 7 is nothing. But there was definitely chances to win that game for the Stampeders. And they ended up losing. Now that's 2 games. There are 2 losses, which probably shouldn't have lost. I mean, the Ottawa game and the monsoon, and then this game, VA went down, I know. But still, chances to win. So those are the tiers after week 8 or heading into week 9. Let me know what you think as we get into our quick picks for week 9 of the 2025 CFL season. We start with the Stampeders at Red Blacks. I'm going to be picking the Red Blacks here. PJ Walker making his first start. We don't know what's going to happen. Drew Brown is going to be starting for the Red Blacks. So I'll be picking Ottawa for that one. On Friday, we have Toronto at Winnipeg. I'm going to say Toronto. I think they have Winnipeg's number, at least over the last few years. I know it's in Winnipeg, which is always a tough place to play, and Winnipeg doesn't lose there a bunch. But let's change it up. Let's say the Toronto Argonauts to get the win in Winnipeg. And then 2 Saturday games, no Sunday game this weekend, as we have the Tiger Cats in Edmonton to face the Elks. I'm going to roll with the TiCats. They're just on fire right now. And then the Rough Riders facing the Alouettes. I'm going to be picking the Riders. So there are my picks for all 4 games of week 9. We'll see how I do. I think I've been doing pretty good so far this season. But that will do it for this edition of CFL Tiers. Again, let me know in the comments below what you think, and we will see you on the next episode. Peace.